Good evening, friends, and welcome to a late night edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, you know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when he's live, when he's available, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, I got some shocking, holy shiitake mushrooms information to share with you. The attorney who represents Shannon Gilbert, John Ray, has made some unbelievable, and that's the reason I was late. He's made some outlandish, unbelievable allegations against Rex Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup. My mind is blown that an attorney would go on national news and make the allegation that he made tonight. That's why I had to listen to it before I came live, and that's why I'm late. My apologies to all you guys. But I want to say a special thank you to you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the folks who positively engage in Crime Time with DutyRon's community. You guys are what makes it a great place. This is going to be shocking. Okay, I see New York mom, Adrienne. She heard it on Cuomo. Yeah, I mean, I just took a listen to it. My intention, obviously, tonight here was to go over the lawsuit that was the intent to file a lawsuit. It was a big news conference at 2:00 today. I have the news conference queued up, but I want to get into this shocking, unbelievable new allegation from attorney John Ray. He represents Shannon Gilbert, as I said, and also Jessica Taylor. And he's a Long Island attorney, and he's been on this case since the beginning. He also, I believe, represented Shannon Gilbert's sister after she stabbed her mother some 228 times. But Robbie, thank you so much for the super love from all the way in Australia. He says, I love this channel and all our wonderful followers. Yeah, you know, I feel the same way. You guys are awesome. Let's say hello to everybody who's coming over from Joey Brooklyn's great crabbing late night crab live stream. Thank you, Joey, for that wonderful live stream. Good to see our retired Irish detective, my fellow brother from PSA 2. What's up, Des? How's everything going? Hey, good to see everybody. Wendy Kraft. Yeah, she was stabbed some 200 and some odd times by her own daughter after Shannon went missing. A very tragic situation. Wild Z Pony says she's in the building, and she said, I just heard the allegations. Need to know your point of view, DutyRon. All right. By a show of hands here in the chat, who wants to hear the Cuomo interview with attorney John Ray first? And then we'll go to the press conference from civil attorneys representing Asa Ellerup. So put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear the Cuomo and the shocking allegation first, or do you want to hear the press conference, press 2 from this afternoon? So a 1 for the shocking revelations, these allegations, 1, 2 if you want to hear the presser from this afternoon. So it looks like we're going to get the shocking allegations from John Ray, attorney who represents Shannon Gilbert and her family. Here it goes. Let's get right into it. It's 5 minutes long, and it freaking blew my mind. Guys, if you can, please share the video, give it a thumbs up real quick, and I have it queued up, and we're going to put it up on the screen. Give me 2 seconds. Please share and give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. All right, so here's the attorney. Here is Cuomo. This was just a short time ago. Let's let it roll. This is unbelievable.
All right, that counsel joins me now. Counselor, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the opportunity. Sure. You said these things very vehemently, but not only do we not have proof of what you're suggesting, the authorities say otherwise. They say that the wife was not in town at the time and that they do not believe the wife was aware of what was going. What do you know that they don't?
Well, several things I know. And they said that. I don't say now that they still say that. They said that at the very beginning of this investigation. but other things have developed. I have a witness, a very credible witness, who I spent many hours with to interview, and from that witness, as well as from the circumstances of this case, I know that Mrs. Ellerup is conning the public right now with this press conference and the rest that she pulled off.
I have to stop that. This is what's shocking. In case you guys didn't hear that, he is accusing that Asa Ellerup, Rex Heuermann's wife, estranged wife, she's filed for divorce, is conning the public. I put it back so you guys can hear it.
Now, with this press conference and the rest that Ellerup is conning the public, I know that Mrs. Ellerup is conning the public right now with this press conference and the rest that she pulled off to say that she's in need of money. She is not, and furthermore, she is complicit in her husband's solicitation and use of sex workers in his home over the course of years, many of them. And she, in this tiny little home where she lived, and he lived, she was upstairs when he would be downstairs having sex with these prostitutes. And
holy shiitake mushrooms. Like, I can't even believe that I'm hearing this, that he has gone on television on News Nation, and now every news outlet's going to pick this up and is accusing her of having knowledge that he brought prostitutes to their home while she was upstairs sleeping and having sex with her. You got to hear what Cuomo asked, and he asked some good questions. So I'm not a huge fan of Cuomo. I'm not a hater of Cuomo, but I just feel like he asked some tough questions from him after this. So take a listen.
Where she lived, and he lived, she was upstairs when he would be downstairs having sex with these prostitutes. And he spent enormous amounts of money on them. And it was a regular thing that happened. And she's now, after 27 years of marriage, in the age of computers and cell phones, when you know where everybody is at all times, didn't know about what her husband was up to downstairs. That's just nonsense. There's 2 out of the 3 hairs that are found on the wrappings of the bodies are hers. That alone puts her in the circle of suspicion. And if the police come out and said, as they did, well, she had an alibi, well, maybe not once we start to study these cases a lot more carefully. But she was complicit, as you heard me say.
Forensic.
Go ahead, sorry.
I hear what you're saying, Counselor. I just want, no, not at all. Just want to put some meat on the bones of this, because it's such a sensitive and damaging thing to say, because, you got this family that may be as traumatized as anybody else. What I have heard from not just the perspective of authorities, but the forensic experts is, if he had these victims in the house, it's not surprising that you would find DNA from the wife or hair from the wife. It's her house. But how do you know that she was, as you say, complicit in his activity with sex workers? Who is this witness that you have who would know something like that?
I have a witness who has refused to identify herself publicly at this time. I just spoke with her very recently, and she is a very, very credible witness. I say that from 40, I pull rank, I guess, is how I'm making the argument. I know that could be a fallacy, but it also could be truthful. And that is that in my 41 years of experience as a trial attorney and litigator, I tested her using the usual tests for truth, and she tested out fine. So I'm perfectly willing to share.
When do the rest of us get to?
Pardon me?
When do the rest of us get to meet this person and test their credibility and what they have to offer?
That's her choice. And right now, she's held me back from doing that. However, she does exist, and she's real, and it stands to reason as well. What she tells me is completely consistent with the obvious. And it's the utterly improbable that she didn't know about what his shenanigans were in that house for all those years. It's just ridiculous. And she's,
John Ray,
she's out there.
I appreciate.
Yep.
I appreciate you making the case. Anytime you want to come on with her or offer anything else, obviously you should go to the authorities first. I'm not suggesting otherwise. That's what matters most here. But you got a platform here to make the case. I've heard the accusation. I'd love to hear the proof. Okay.
Let me just say this. Okay. Okay. So hear me out. Everybody's jumping up and down in the chat. All right. I'm playing this to be objective. But I also listened to today's press conference with Asa Ellerup's attorney, right? I listened to attorney Robert Moto. I wrote his name down, but I scribbled it. But we're going to look at him and we're going to listen to him and the other attorney for the children, Vesa Midavi. I know I'm botching his name. There was two attorneys, but Asa Ellerup's attorney, if you guys were listening to the press conference today at 2 p.m. Eastern, he bashed John Ray. So what I'm sensing right here is this is John Ray. This is like a cat fight. This is two attorneys that are pissed off at each other. I'm going to show you right now. I pay close attention to the details, and I know you guys do too. This afternoon, one of my takeaways was holy shiitake mushrooms. Asa Ellerup's attorney called John Ray an attention seeker. Did anybody catch on to that? This is his answer at 10 o'clock on News Nation to stick one right up in his face. Let's take a listen to it. Interesting observation. I know that more than just myself picked up on that. So let's listen to the 2 o'clock live stream and take a peek into what was said. This is pretty long, but we're going to hear Asa Ellerup's attorney and attorney for the children, for the grown children, Christopher Sheridan and Victoria Heuermann. And let's hear what they had to say.
I'm Bob Macedonio. I'm the attorney representing.
So it's Bob Macedonio. I have Robert Macedonio written down, but I scribbled his last name, so I couldn't. So these are the attorneys, both of them right here for the family.
Asa Ellerup, as you're all aware, she's the wife of the Gilgo Beach serial killer suspect. On her behalf, she wanted me to express her thanks for the enormous outpouring of support that she's received in the past several weeks. We've gotten gift cards, care packages, food's been delivered to her house. There's also been a GoFundMe page that's been set up on her behalf, which I'd like to clarify some of the issues with that. The GoFundMe page that's been set up is 100% for the benefit of Asa and her children. This law firm or any associations of us, we take no funds from that. She will receive 100% of the funds from that. The GoFundMe page was set up by Melissa Moore, who is the daughter of the serial killer, the Happy Face killer, who in the late 90s was convicted of killing at least 5 sex workers in the Midwest. She was 16 years old when her father was arrested. She reached out immediately to myself, and we put her in contact with Asa, and they have started the GoFundMe page. Like I said, 100% of the proceeds from that GoFundMe goes to Asa. At this time, Asa has authorized me to relay to everybody that for the past several years, she's been suffering from cancer. She has breast cancer. She also has skin cancer. She's presently under a course of treatment that's going to continue for the next 12 to 18 months. Now, why I bring that up is because her health insurance is due to expire in the next 60 days. The source of her health insurance was from her husband's employer. He was the employee. So when the funds run out in his business accounts, the health insurance will no longer be available for her to treat the cancer. It's going to be going the treatment she needs for the next 18 months. That's the big part of it. We did tour the house on Sunday. I was there with my staff and saw the damage that was done and the mess that was left behind when the police did leave. The drain pipes were taken out of the bathroom. That little elbow piece, the traps were taken out of the bathroom sinks as well as the bathroom tubs, so you could not run any of the water.
I just want to say this too. Melissa Moore, who's the daughter of the Happy Face serial killer, I've had communications with her in the last couple of days, and she's agreed to come on and do an interview with me on the channel about the GoFundMe. So I'm going to have her on with me in a short period of time. I'm just working out the logistics because I want to hear about her story, about what happened with her, because her and her mom were taken back by her father They had no idea. And she reached out. She went to Asa Ellerup and made sure that she was okay with her creating that GoFundMe before she did. And Asa gave her the okay. And as you just heard the attorney here, Robert Macedonia, he said that none of the funds go to him. It all goes to them. But I'm going to have her on, and we'll ask her. I'll have you guys send in questions to ask her, and I'll ask her all the questions you guys sent to me.
We had a cleanup crew come in with 20-yard dumpsters with 5 men and start removing debris that was left behind. As we speak, photos are being released to all of you through the internet, which you'll have digital photos of the damage that was there. I've also had the opportunity to view the so-called vault or the soundproof room in the basement. It is not a soundproof room. It is not a vault. It is a safe door about 6 foot high that is attached to 2x4s with an open ceiling in the basement like anybody's basement would be, unfinished inside. That's where the guns were allegedly stored. I also had the opportunity to view this doll that we made mention of by the prosecution or the police department. It's a collectible doll. And again, at some point in time, you have a photo of that Asa has collected for many, many years. It was in a wooden glass case that was there. Again, Asa would like me to express her thanks for the support she's received. She's going through a very difficult time. Emotionally, she's recovering each day, not only dealing with the cancer, but this newfound life that she has to come to terms with to protect herself and her children. The attorney for the children is here, Mr. Vespatev. I'd like him to say a few words.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much for coming. As you know, my firm represents the 2 children, Victoria and Christopher. I'd also like to say thank you to the public that's come out, to the donations, the people that have sent care packages, the people that have sent money, the people that have stopped by and given them well wishes. And we've spoken, I think, in the press for the last few days about why and how it's so important that this family has competent and capable legal representation. And Mr. Macedonio and his firm and my firm, obviously, we're going to keep doing that because they have, as we've said before, rights and liberties that need to be protected. Okay, they all have that. ASA has that. The children have that. As this investigation continues, obviously the district attorney's office is releasing new information every day. And it's going to be a very long process. So what they're asking you all to keep in mind that it's going to be a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is going to continue. This case is going to be a very long time in the making. And through that process, obviously, we've talked about in the past few days that the law requires them, in order to preserve those legal rights and remedies, to file certain legal documents at certain intervals. If they don't do that, they will have waived those rights in the public forum. So we are, at this point, announcing that the children and Ms. Ellerup, on her behalf, are going to be protecting those legal rights and remedies by filing what's called a notice of claim. That notice of claim is going to be filed within the next 30 days, and that obviously is a legal prerequisite to filing a lawsuit, and it has to be done because otherwise those rights are waived. And that's what's going to happen when it happens.
So they have 90 days to file notice that they're going to sue Suffolk County Police, Nassau County Police. They're probably going to sue every agency that's involved in that search warrant. And I have to imagine it's going to be Suffolk County, that police department, because they're handling the case. So that search warrant was probably issued by a Suffolk County judge and the Suffolk County Police Department, along with assistance from Nassau County, because it was in the county of Nassau, and the FBI and state police. They all assisted in that search warrant, but they're going to ultimately sue the most wealthy county in New York, which is Suffolk County. And that's why these attorneys are up here securing their legal right to put forward a civil suit for damages to their home. And that's what it is. The food stamps go to Asa Ellerup's adult son, Christopher, who is autistic and has other challenged, he's not physically or mentally challenged in various different ways. And again, when you hear about the PS5 that was damaged, that has a 1 terabyte hard drive, the PS5. And I would almost bet you my pension that the police department forensics unit in that search warrant probably had legal right to seize any and all electronic devices, and that would include the PS5, which holds 1 terabyte of downloadable. It's a 1 terabyte hard drive in that PS5. They probably broke it open and took out the hard drive for computer forensic analysis. I'll let the rest of this play because I want you guys to hear the meat and potatoes of this. It comes at the end, and we're almost done. It comes at the end when attorney for Asa Ellerup gets on and says and calls John Ray an attention seeker. And he's been an attention seeker, according to him, from the beginning. And he just wants to have his fame and have his name out there. So, yes, RDNAC, the PS5, according to the news reports, belonged to her adult son.
Obviously, we'll let you all know. We'll let you folks know what the content of it is, but that's the announcement that we have to make. In closing, I'd like to echo my colleagues' statements. At this time, the family again requests truly and honestly that their rights and liberties have to be protected. And a part of that, again, is that the focus is on their basic needs.
The streets and that. So we'll file the notice of claim. It'll probably list.
Was the Nassau County Police Department involved in wrecking the house?
At this point in time, we're not sure what law enforcement.
So a reporter asked, is the Nassau County Police responsible for wrecking the house? And that's the male reporter that asks some pretty good questions. He's a little bit, how can I put it? He's a little snarky with them. He's a little bit like, he's snapping a lot of questions at them, but I kind of like his spunk. He asked some tough questions and he actually pushed their buttons. But he asked if the Nassau County Police is responsible for wrecking the house. The Suffolk County Police is probably going to be on record, as I said. They probably secured the search warrant through a Suffolk County judge, and Suffolk, Nassau, New York State Police, and the FBI all were in that home. So every agency in that task force, including the district attorneys, investigators, the Suffolk County jail personnel, all of them were probably had a hand inside that house.
Which were involved in actually entering the premises and which were involved with securing the streets and that. So we'll file a notice of claim. It'll probably list all the agencies. And then once the investigation's done, we'll narrow it down and see if there's any kind of lawsuit that can be proceeded after that. It was piled floor to ceiling with debris.
She asked what was the condition of the house when Asa Ellerup and her 2 adult children returned to that home.
That was just taken out of the attics of every closet, every inch of the house. There was a path probably a foot or 2 wide to get from the front door to the kitchen, and that was the way through the house. The children and Asa were sleeping on really foam mats.
I don't think so, Pauline. I looked into that, and I don't think so, because it's not it's not like a broken pipe or something happening, flooding and so forth. This is damage that happened pursuant to a lawful search warrant. This is damage to their home pursuant to a lawful search warrant signed by a judge. So the answer to that question, I've come to learn, is no.
On the floor next to the dog bed where the dog was sleeping also. In addition, I forgot to mention, there was 3 cats that were taken when the police executed the search warrant, taken to the animal shelter, local town of.
Yeah, and I feel sorry. I mean, I'm an animal lover. I love dogs. I'm allergic to cats. I'm allergic to dogs, but severely allergic to cats. But I love all animals. I have a 36-year-old African gray here in my studio. I got a dog. It just breaks your heart when you hear that the cats were taken away. You see how Asa Ellerup, she was hugging and petting the dog on the front of the porch, and so was her adult son. Animals provide us with great therapeutic love. They love unconditionally, right? So when you hear about that, it sucks. But I think these cats, he's going to say, were brought to a shelter, not killed, but put up for adoption. So that's pretty sad.
To the animal shelter, which was going to euthanize them if they were not picked up by a certain time. We had those cats removed, voluntarily transported out to the Bayou, West Hampton, and they're going to be maintained there until they're adopted out by loving families.
Rex Heuermann pleaded not guilty. Does his family believe?
The only thing his family knows about these charges is what's been reported in the media. They have not discussed it with him. They haven't addressed it with him, and that's our instructions to them now.
Do you think he did it?
We haven't had that conversation. Frankly, it doesn't matter. I need to get Asa back to be mentally healthy, to protect herself and her own children. She has to prepare this for at least the next couple of years before this case is litigated in the courts.
Has he visited him in the jail?
She has not visited him in the jail.
Right. So they asked, and you know, these reporters, you can't hear them well. The reporter said, has Asa Ellerup visited Rex Heuermann in jail? And he said no. And what's also shocking is he's asked directly, were Asa Ellerup and her 2 adult children questioned by the police? And he vehemently, he was adamant that they had not been questioned by the police as of today. Not even questioned, not once. So that's unbelievable.
Law enforcement yet?
No, they have not. We have not been contacted.
Voluntarily gave DNA according to a court document along with the children. Did they consult with you about it?
That was prior to our representation if it happened, and we have not been consulted or contacted by law enforcement. And let me reiterate, Asa or the children are not suspects in this. I think the DA's office and the law enforcement has made that clear. They've stated on several occasions they were out of the jurisdiction when these alleged crimes took place. So she is not a suspect. She's not been questioned. She hasn't been accused of anything, of being an accomplice or any part associated with whatever her husband's accused of.
Mr. Macedonia, in light of the fact that Suffolk County has proven to frame people, do you think there's any possibility that Rex Heuermann has been framed?
So I'm not even going to address that. I'm not the law enforcement. I trust they can do their job diligently and professionally. So
But you just admitted they're lying.
Mr. Macedonia, how do you explain your client not having any knowledge of what was going on?
Okay, you're assuming that all the allegations are true. So if, for some of your question, they're true, he lived a complete double life. One of the photos that was released to you that you'll have momentarily will show the house at Christmas time with a Christmas tree and stockings hung by the fireplace at the alleged same time he's alleged to have gone out and committed these serial murders and buried the girls up in Gilgo. So if it happened, it was a complete double life. I assure you she knew nothing about it.
Okay, so here he's saying, this is, you know, obviously Asa's attorney. Asa's attorney is saying she knew nothing about it. It was a complete double life. We have pictures of the Christmas tree, which I'm going to show you, while this was all allegedly happening, these murders, and they knew nothing about what what Rex Heuermann is alleged to have done. And again, this is the exact opposite of what attorney for Shannon Gilbert, John Ray, is saying.
They have been released already. You should have them. Your agency should all have them. They were sent out.
She's asking about the pictures of inside the house. These attorneys get about 33.33% of any of the funds that are obtained from suing Suffolk County. So if Suffolk County sued for $3 million, they get 33.33% of that.
You were talking about the drain pipes that have been taken out and they're sleeping on the floor.
Yes.
Is there running water in the home?
The water is running, but the drain pipes, if you run the water, the sink just drops down and goes right down to the basement. There's no, the plumbing has been repaired, or at least the sink's been repaired, working on the tub as we speak.
How often are you speaking with the...
So it sounds like they cut out all the drain lines. They cut out the drain lines to take them to do, forensics on it. So they probably cut out sections of the main line, a section of the piping going from the bathroom and the main floor going down to the basement. Because in these homes in Nassau County, it's a city sewer. So the everything goes down into the basement and then goes out to the main line through the floor in the basement, underneath the concrete floor, and out to the main line.
Investigators, have they been asking?
I have not spoken to investigators at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Are there any appointments made
No.
have to meet with them for
No.
sort of evidence collection or anything else or anything?
No.
If there was, would they be reaching out?
They have not reached out to us, so I can't assume what they would be doing. I'm sure they're running a professional investigation. I understand the grand jury is still impaneled, so that's their function, and we have not been reached out by them at all.
Have you talked to Asa about the fact that her DNA was at the crime scene? Does she have any theory?
Well, I think it's what's been said. They say a hair of her likeness was at the crime scene. I don't think they said DNA of hers was at the crime scene. So we
Well, there's the hair has DNA. Anyways, this was a whole exchange back and forth. The attorney's defending her. He's basically telling these reporters that his client has not been questioned by any investigators, not one investigator.
And potentially they say her hair.
Of her likeness of hair. So I don't think the DNA has been proven to be hers at the crime scene.
He's wrong there because the hair was tested and it comes back to Asa Ellerup. But there's an explanation for it. The transfer, and Ed Wallace spoke about it with us. Transfer of hair. My wife's hairs are within my clothes. Sometimes I'm at work and I got a big, long, dark hair in my shirt, and I pull it out, and it's from my wife. So if you're living with someone, as any of the women here can attest to, women's hair and men's hair fall out all the time. So.
Of her likeness. Okay.
Did you talk to her husband on the phone?
Sure.
We talked about how Asa is doing and cancer. Can you talk to us about how Victoria and Christopher are handling?
Sure. Before that, I just want to piggyback off something Mr. Macedonio just said, and this goes back maybe 2 days, but this DNA order that was cut, okay, that's a very standard order in any kind of criminal prosecution. This was a order that was going to be granted no matter what, okay? Anytime you have a case involving DNA evidence, a buccal swab is quite standard. That state of,
He's talking about the buccal swab for Rex Heuermann.
the laws of the state of New York are that you can be required, subject to your constitutional limitations, to provide what's called non-testimonial evidence, hair, materials, DNA. So that order was completely pro forma. I understand it was reported in the media as this groundbreaking, earth-shaking moment in the case, but it's not. It gets cut in every case, and if it wasn't ordered, it would have been immediately created an appealable issue. So back to your question, obviously,
Victoria, how are they?
they're as we've said before, every moment that they spend in this waking, surreal nightmare, they have to keep reevaluating where they are, okay? Their valuables were shattered, their beds were destroyed, the places that they laid their heads down at night no longer exist. The reason that they spend so much time outside and why you folks photograph them on the porch is because they can't be inside. The house is in shambles. It's ransacked. It was run over through roughshod. Okay, so it's not as if they don't want to be inside their house, but the conditions inside are deplorable, and they were left in a deplorable condition. So how are they doing? Again, we go back to what we need as humans. We need food, water, clothing, shelter, a roof over our heads, a place to lay our heads down at night. All of those things they were deprived of summarily without any warning. And every day that goes by, again, kindness of strangers, and we appreciate that. They help get back a little bit of normalcy, but it's not going to be enough. Every dollar counts. Obviously, they have a long way to go. It's not going to be enough today. It's not going to be enough tomorrow. It's not going to be enough for months, maybe years. So in order to piece back what's been crumbled into a million pieces is going to take a very long time. And they need all that. And that's what humans need.
A murder case with multiple victims. Is now the appropriate time to talk about the condition of Heuermann's house?
It's absolutely the appropriate time to talk about the condition of Heuermann's house and children. Again, they're innocent bystanders in this. And that's, again, we cannot stress that enough. Because of what has happened here, and it's of unimaginable magnitude, they're caught up in this. They're victims just as much. They disagree, or you might consider that there were horrific things that are alleged to have been happened, but an allegation and a conviction are quantum leaps apart. So yes, they are victims, and yes, they are innocent bystanders, and yes, their lives have been completely upended and turned upside down.
And I want to just say this: I agree with this. I feel that they, right now, as it stands, are victims. We don't have any knowledge publicly that they have anything to do with this or have any knowledge of it. And as a matter of fact, these two attorneys state that they have not even been questioned. This is over a month since Rex Heuermann has been taken into custody. Don't you think that if they were suspect in this thing, that they would have been hauled in to police headquarters and in question by the FBI, by the state police, by Suffolk County Homicide, by the state police crime investigators. Come on. We got to use common sense here, right? So right now, at this point, Asa Ellerup, her son, her adult son, and her daughter, they're not suspects. They're not even being questioned. So,
About the relationship between the children and Rex, were they close? Did they happen to take any family vacations? And if so, where did they go?
Again, I appreciate the question and we thank you for it. We're not here to talk about that today. We're here to give you an update, disseminate some new photos, which I think will give you a better idea. Pictures worth 1,000 words, obviously, as to what the house was, what their life was like. It's contained in those pictures as well, but we're not going to talk about that. And obviously to announce that we are going to be exercising their legal rights and remedies by filing the notices of claim. Thank you.
Sorry, you cannot call the jail. The jails have to be outgoing only from the jail. So there's no. They spoke.
So they asked him if his client, Asa Ellerup, has called the jail. And he said, you can only call out from the jail. You can't call in, which is correct.
Over the phone, yeah. Like I've stated, all those jail calls are recorded. So we've instructed her, and I'm sure his attorneys instructed him not to discuss the facts of the case. It just doesn't benefit either party.
So he's called her.
That's the only way the call can happen.
Has Asa Ellerup explained to you a reason for filing for divorce?
Of course, I discussed that with her, and at some point in time, she'll make her statements on why she feels it was appropriate to do that.
The reporter asked her why Asa Ellerup has filed for divorce, and he said at some point she'll make a statement about that, which will be interesting. I would be interested in hearing her make a statement. Again, we found out tonight or today that Asa Ellerup is fighting breast and skin cancer, and we're going to hear now him. You're going to hear this attorney now get into it about attorney John Ray, and the reason he gets into it is because one of the reporters asks about John Ray, the attorney for Shannon Gilbert. Right here, she just said it, John Ray. So it's very hard to hear it, but it's a female reporter, and she asks about John Ray, and this is what sets him off. So I'll let this run.
Filing for divorce.
Of course, I discussed that with her, and at some point in time, she'll make her statements on why she feels it was appropriate to do that.
Here we go.
Okay, Johnny Ray is trying to keep himself relevant in this case. He has a victim, and he's been on TV for the last 10 years trying to get any kind of press he can on this and make himself relevant in this case. I can assure you, Asa Ellerup and her two children are not suspects in this case. They shouldn't be suspects in this case. I wholeheartedly trust the DA's investigation that eliminated them. So I don't know what Johnny Ray's purpose is in doing that, but like I said, trying to keep himself relevant in this matter. That's the only way the call can happen.
So I think that's Mary Murphy from WPIX. So I'm going to put it back and let it play again. He says Johnny Ray is trying to keep himself relevant, and he just goes off on him. And I feel that this might be the reason John Ray was on Cuomo tonight on News Nation in response to this.
Okay, Johnny Ray is trying to keep himself relevant in this case. He has a victim, and he's been on TV for the last 10 years trying to get any kind of press he can on this and make himself relevant in this case. I can assure you, Asa Ellerup and her two children are not suspects in this case. They shouldn't be suspects in this case. I wholeheartedly trust the DA's investigation that eliminated them. So I don't know what Johnny Ray's purpose is in doing that, but like I said, trying to keep himself relevant in this matter.
I know you said that they're not suspects in this case, but what can you say about how they're assisting in the investigation?
They're not assisting at all. We've never been contacted.
He said they're not suspects in this case, referring to Asa and her children, but did they assist in this case?
Is there any desire to do that? So also, if you're not suspect, would they want to go above and beyond?
Again, if this happened, it was a complete double life. They have no information to provide. But again, they're not suspects. They haven't been questioned. I do not believe they have any relevant information, or they would have been questioned already and called into the grand jury.
And they have nothing to offer investigation.
Complete double life.
I want to ask about the notice of claim. Her husband has told his lawyer he didn't do this.
You can see that he's pissed. That questioning, and of course he's an attorney to protect his client. Attorneys, we hear criminal defense attorneys defend, Brian Kohlberger type people, Rex Heuermann. We heard Rex Heuermann's attorney go full tilt that's their job, right? And for those of you who are fighting in the chat over this, I'm having this conversation with you to show both sides of this thing. So don't shoot the messenger. Don't come at me, or in the chat come at me. Like, I'm trying to have this live interactive broadcast to show you guys the comparison and what could possibly be the reason why John Ray and this guy are now in a pissing match on TV. So I'm just asking everyone to be, to try to be kind. I know sometimes you get hopped up. I'm not on anybody's particular side here. I'm just trying to hear and digest the drama that's gone on here tonight. It's only fair to show both sides. And here's the interview with John Ray. I'll show it again. This is his interview tonight, 10 o'clock, just about an hour or so ago. The interview that we just watched was with Asa Ellerup's attorney. This is attorney John Ray at 10 p.m. The other one was at 2 p.m. And here's what he had to say.
That counsel joins me now. Counselor, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the opportunity. You said these things very vehemently, but not only do we not have proof of what you're suggesting, the authorities say otherwise. They say that the wife was not in town at the time and that they do not believe the wife was aware of what was going. What do you know that they don't?
Well, several things I know. And they said that. I don't say now that they still say that. They said that at the very beginning of this investigation, but other things have developed. I have a witness, a very credible witness, who I spent many hours with to interview. And from that witness, as well as from the circumstances of this case, I know that Mrs. Ellerup is conning the public right now with this press conference and the rest that she pulled off to say that she's in need of money. She is not. And furthermore, she is complicit in her husband's solicitation and use of sex workers in his home over the course of years, many of them. And she, in this tiny little home where she lived, and he lived, she was upstairs when he would be downstairs having sex with these prostitutes. And he spent enormous amounts of money on them. And it was a regular thing that happened. And she's now...
I want to just say that he's an attorney. This is huge. This is huge for Asa Ellerup. If this is found to be not true, this is major slanderous accusations. I mean, this is slander 101. I'll let the rest of it play.
27 years of marriage in the age of computers and cell phones, when you know where everybody is at all times, didn't know about what her husband was up to downstairs. That's just nonsense. There's 2 out of the 3 hairs that are found on the wrappings of the bodies are hers. That alone puts her in the circle of suspicion. And if the police come out and said, as they did, well, she had an alibi, well, maybe not once we start to study these cases a lot more carefully. But she was complicit, as you heard me say.
The forensic...
Go ahead, sorry.
I hear what you're saying, Counselor. I just want, no, not at all. I just want to put some meat on the bones of this, because it's, it's such a sensitive and damaging thing to say, because, you got this family that may be as traumatized as anybody else. What
I could see, like, I've seen
of her
hundreds of interviews with John Ray. He looks pissed. here. New York City Urbanista, thank you for becoming a channel member, and it's always good to see you. Many years, a good friend of Crime Time with DutyRon. Thank you, New York City Urbanista. I'm honored.
From not just the perspective of authorities, but the forensic experts, is if he had these victims in the house, it's not surprising that you would find DNA from the wife or hair from the wife. It's her house. But how do you know that she was, as you say, complicit in his activity with sex workers? Who is this witness that you have who would know something like that?
I have a witness who has refused to identify herself publicly at this time. I just spoke with her very recently, and she is a very, very credible witness. I say that from 40, I pull rank, I guess, is how I'm making the argument. I know that could be a fallacy, but it also could be truthful. And that is that in my 41 years of experience as a trial attorney and litigator, I tested her using the usual tests for truth, and she tested out fine.
Using the usual tests for truth. Now, that's an interesting statement right there. What did he do? Did he polygraph her? Is he insinuating that he polygraphed this witness that has inside knowledge that Asa Ellerup knew that her husband had prostitutes in the house? Things that make you go,
So I'm perfectly willing to share.
When do the rest of us get to?
Pardon me?
When do the rest of us get to meet this person and test their credibility and what they have to offer?
Bueller.
That's her choice. And right now, she's held me back from doing that. However, she does exist, and she's real, and it stands to reason as well. What she tells me is completely consistent with the obvious, and it's the utterly improbable that she didn't know about what his shenanigans were in that house for all those years. It's just ridiculous. And she's
John Ray,
she's out there.
I appreciate.
Yeah.
Well, this has just caused a shitstorm like you've never seen before. That's the second time we played that, and I did it for the advantage of some of the people who might not have come in on the beginning of this. Let's take a listen to News Nation's coverage. This is some other coverage I want you guys to hear.
Children held a press conference about an hour ago. The family has not really said much publicly since Heuermann was arrested, and authorities executed an extensive search of their home that happened last.
I don't know what I did there. Okay, there we go.
Month. The News Nation's Sloan Glass has been following this story from the beginning. And Sloan, the family is also now releasing these never before seen photos of their home.
Nicole, those never before seen photos that show the interior after investigators searched through the home for 12 days. Now, the attorney representing Heuermann's estranged wife, Robert Macedonia, also revealed that she has been suffering from cancer for the last 7 years. Now, the reason for telling us that, her health insurance is set to expire, and they were promoting a GoFundMe that has been set up by the Happy Face serial killer's family. And we want to show you those photos of the interior of the house. Inside the Heuermann house, Asa Ellerup said that it was left destroyed after investigators spent those 12 days inside and in the backyard looking for evidence. Her legal team sending us these photos that show boxes piled up, a complete mess of the place. But the DA had said that the house was cluttered and Heuermann was a pack rat when they entered the home. The most telling part of Heuermann's wife's attorney sharing these photos, Macedonia says that they are filing.
So that's the photo of the Christmas tree during the alleged time that Rex Heuermann supposedly committed these crimes, allegedly have committed these crimes. And this has been released by the attorneys. I don't see any timestamp or date stamp on this thing, but I'm sure that they've provided that. So, and by the way, that's my 36-year-old African gray. Yes, he's cursing in the background and whistling and laughing. Thank God I have my mic on where it cuts off the noise and background noise. Otherwise, you guys would be hearing a mouthful right now.
filing a notice of claim, and it seems like they are gearing up to file a suit for damages. Matthew's wife's attorney, a complete team sending us that it was Heuermann House, happy-faced serial killer's family. And we want to show you those photos of the interior of the house. Inside the Heuermann house, Asa Ellerup said that it was left destroyed.
I mean, you could see that's wall-to-wall boxes. I am just curious, by a show of hands. I mean, how many of you would love to have seen pictures of the inside of that home prior to the search warrant? Now, I'll say to you, me, because I know that when I did search warrants, and I did this for a long time, I executed arguably hundreds of search warrants over the course of my time. We would take pictures of the before and then the after. So I have to say that you've heard this here first on Crime Time with DutyRon. Because of my experience, there is a very high chance that the Suffolk County Police Department and the task force have video and photographs of the inside of the Heuermann home before they went through it. This is afterwards, but I want to see what it looked like before. And I know that there's a high probability that they have pictures and video. So let's watch the rest of this.
Ellerup said that it was left destroyed after investigators spent those 12 days inside and in the backyard looking for evidence. Her legal team sending us these photos that show boxes piled up, a complete mess of the place. But the DA had said that the house was cluttered and Heuermann was a pack rat when they entered the home.
Right. And that wasn't the DA that said it was a pack rat. That was Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison. He called Rex Heuermann a pack rat. And I was saying that was his way of being nice and not calling them a hoarder.
House. Inside the Heuermann house.
See, this is the inside of the house. This looks like the front door right here where my cursor is. This looks like or some type of door that's leading maybe out to the back or the front. But this is evidence boxes. This isn't how it was before they got in there. But these are the boxes that they might have put some of the stuff that's not evidence that they removed and left them in those boxes. You know what I mean? These boxes are probably full of stuff, but they left it behind. You see this yellow evidence tape. So, all right.
Asa Ellerup said that it was left destroyed after investigators spent those 12 days inside and in the backyard looking for evidence. Her legal team sending us these photos that show boxes piled up, a complete mess of the place. But the DA had said that the house was cluttered and Heuermann was a pack rat when they entered the home. The most telling part of Heuermann's wife's attorney sharing these photos, Macedonia says that they are filing a notice of claim, and it seems like they are gearing up to file a suit for damages.
I mean, look at that. That's the backyard, and that's these photos, are high-res photos that were probably taken, obviously, by the civil attorney who's representing them, Mr. Macedonia. He probably had his team, all of these civil attorneys and criminal defense attorneys and all attorneys have a team that works alongside them, and they go out and photograph and document and so forth. So these are high-res pictures that the attorneys. What was interesting too, and I forgot to tell you guys, is at the very end of that press conference at 2 p.m. today for Asa Ellerup and the children, one last question came from that male news reporter. He said, and he got it in at the last second before the camera cut off. He said, "Did you call them or did they call you?" The reporter, did anybody catch that? The reporter was asking him, "Hey, did you call Asa Ellerup or did she call you?" And he didn't answer it, or it got cut off. But I like that because he was going for the angle of the ambulance chaser. Like sometimes they call civil attorneys ambulance chasers. When people get into car accidents, they want to get a big civil suit. Well, this is no different because this is a huge lawsuit that potentially could be had against Suffolk County, which is the richest county in New York State. And they have the highest paid police department. So that reporter was basically taunting them and saying, he asked the line of questioning, if he answered it, if he said, oh, of course we reached out to her, or no, she reached out to me, he didn't even answer it. So pretty interesting.
Macedonia also said that drain pipes had been taken from the bathroom.
So there's pictures of the pipes. Joey, you're a plumber, with your housing authority experience. Does it look like anything's missing from there? I mean, I see a PVC pipe, but I don't see where it goes down because of all the red lettering here and all of this, all this stuff. But I don't see any damage there. But I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Now, I asked the attorney for the 2 adult children, Smithbeck, why he believes now is the.
You see damage? Or I don't see any damage right there, but maybe it's cut down here where it goes down is what possibly.
The appropriate time for Heuermann's family to be speaking
There's the tub.
about the conditions of their home.
That's the cutout. They cut out the tub.
After all, this is a murder case with multiple victims, and he said it's partially because they have a short window to file the notice of claim.
Every moment that they spend in this waking, surreal nightmare, they have to keep reevaluating where they are, okay? Their valuables were shattered, their beds were destroyed, the places that they laid their heads down at night no longer exist. The reason that they spend so much time outside and why you folks photograph them on the porch is because they can't be inside. The house is in shambles, it's ransacked, it was run over through roughshod, okay? So it's not as if they don't want to be inside their house, but the conditions inside are deplorable, and they were left in a deplorable condition.
Macedonio also fought back on the label that the DA had given the area where Heuermann had 279 weapons stored. He said it's not a vault or a soundproof room. It was an unfinished room. And Nicole, I want to let everyone at home know that the family is not suspects. Travel logs show that they were away at the times that these murders were expected to be, where they alleged to have happened. But also Macedonio saying that the family has not been contacted by law enforcement. They've not spoken to investigators since Rex Heuermann was arrested.
And Sloan, before we let you go, I wanted to focus in on something you had said at the top about that GoFundMe. So that is for the suspected killer's estranged wife, who they do not believe is associated with these killings. But the GoFundMe was set up by the family member of a different serial killer, somebody who was convicted of being a serial killer, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was a bit startling to hear that information because, wow, what a world that has been created around this case. But we do know that family members of other serial killers serial killers have been convicted, and then Rex Heuermann has not been convicted of any charges yet, but he is a suspected serial killer, have come forward and talked about the fact that this family is victims and that we don't know what they're going through. Their attorneys have said that they are living in a hell every single day. And there's been this growing support around them from other people who've had family members who have been arrested and charged with similar crimes.
Yeah, certainly a situation a lot of.
So thank you for that question, Heidi Cakes. I had asked Ed Wallace, and thank you for being very observant and listening to what we talk about, right? Missy Q, good to see you. The chat's moving so fast. Hi, Missy Q. So I presented that to Ed when we had the MVAC CEO. We had Jared Bradley on from MVAC, and I asked him if in the bathroom, if they could have possibly cut that drain pipe out to do DNA testing. And he said, yes, there's a possibility, but he wouldn't know, obviously, unless he was there doing the investigation with them. So that's a possibility. It is a possibility. I'm trying to get the attorney, John Ray. He also did a small press briefing.
Filing a notice.
I'm trying to
examined
find
every
it here.
crevice of the old.
Give me a second. I think I saved it. Oh yeah, here it is. All right, so on CBS they did some coverage that showed John Ray and him talking. So let's take a look at this because everybody wants to hear this. Hold on. Here we go.
Right now at 5:30, the family of the accused Gilgo Beach serial killer says their life has become a surreal nightmare. They claim that their home was turned upside down in the investigation, and now they are threatening legal action. Welcome back. I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Maurice Dubois. The family of Rex Heuermann has filed a notice of claim against law enforcement.
CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff was there as their lawyers spoke out today.
His arrest brought relief for many, but the family of accused serial killer Rex Heuermann says for them it's a surreal nightmare. Wife Asa Ellerup, who's filed for divorce, stepson Christopher, daughter Victoria.
Their valuables were shattered, their beds were destroyed, the places that they laid their heads down at night no longer exist. The house is in shambles, it's ransacked.
Innocent bystanders, their lives turned upside down. Their attorneys say their house, too. New photos show the mess they returned to after a 12-day search. They're filing a notice of claim to preserve their right to sue.
It was piled floor to ceiling with debris. The drain pipes were taken out of the bathroom, so you could not run any of the water.
Investigators say they examined every crevice of the already cluttered house, a potential crime scene, but the family provided a picture-perfect image of life in the Heuermann home prior to the search. Heuermann's charged with killing 3 women and is the prime suspect in a 4th. Officials do not believe the family knew about his alleged double life. A GoFundMe was set up to help with, among other costs, health care for Ellerup, who is in cancer treatment. But the attorney for some Gilgo victims' relatives calls the appeal an outrage after Ellerup's DNA was also a match with hairs on some victims.
She should be considered a suspect and not just a bystander or someone who's been victimized by a husband.
Experts say the family's victims.
She should be considered a suspect and not just a bystander or someone who's been victimized by a husband.
Experts say.
So he's going hard after Asa Ellerup. And you know what? Listen, he is representative for Shannon Gilbert and Jessica Taylor. I guess he, in a sense, I mean, look, you either love this guy or hate him. There's probably no in between. But he's trying to be a pit bull, and he's trying to say, hey, she should be looked at up and down. And what's telling here, and anyone who does investigations would understand that if she was suspected of having any involvement, they wouldn't just allow her to freely move about the country. And she's not moving about the country, but I'm just making a statement. They would have at least did a summary interview to see if she would lawyer up. And if she lawyers up, and that civil attorney that she has is not a criminal defense attorney. So technically, she is lawyered up with a civil attorney, but she's not lawyered up with the criminal defense attorney. So if they asked her to come in and she retained counsel and said, I don't want to talk to you, I want an attorney, they wouldn't be able to question her, obviously. But they didn't even try that. They didn't even ask her to come in. They didn't go to the house and say, hey, we want to do a formal interview with you. That's telling.
The family's complaints may not have legal standing.
The police were doing their lawful obligation to pursue an investigation into a suspected serial killer. I understand it's inconvenient when you might live with a suspected serial killer.
Ellerup and her children have voluntarily provided DNA samples, but they have not been asked to be interviewed by police. In Central Islip, Long Island.
So they voluntarily probably got the buccal swab from them, or they took, you know, the swabs plus hair and toothbrushes from them and so forth. So, again, I mean, this, I said it in the beginning of this live stream. I changed the title to Gilgo Beach, Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann, shocking new allegations from attorney John Ray, because these are shocking allegations. Like, this came out of nowhere. This came out of left field for him to say what he said on News Nation tonight. So, interesting. I'm going to play another little piece. This is from our local news day.
Lawyers for Asa Ellerup, estranged wife of accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann, say she is filing notice of claim to recover damages to her Massapequa Park home. Attorneys say the aging house was ransacked by lawyers for Asa Ellerup, estranged wife of accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann, say she is filing notice of claim to recover damages to her Massapequa Park home. Attorneys say the aging house was ransacked by police looking for evidence against Heuermann. Another reason they say she is suing, she's suffering from breast and skin cancer, and her estranged husband's health insurance is expiring.
We did tour the house on Sunday. I was there with my staff and saw the damage that was done and the mess that was left behind. Could not run any of the water.
Additionally, Macedonia says that the family is sleeping on the floor and spending time outside the house because of the damage left behind, which makes the house nearly unlivable.
Every moment that they spend in this waking, surreal nightmare, they have to keep reevaluating.
Lawyers for Asa Ellerup, estranged wife of accused Gilgo.
All right. I'm going to come back on and answer that question. Dawn in Wyoming, she says, coming in late, and thank you for the $10 super chat. Coming in late here, and thank you for your great coverage. DutyRon, how can they bring suit against anyone when that was a crime scene? Wouldn't a normal person be more concerned with alleged crimes? Dawn, we don't know if that was a crime scene. But what we do know, and thank you for that question, because all questions are good questions. But what we do know about the Heuermann home is that a judge in Suffolk County issued a search warrant for the entire home. And that includes the plumbing. That includes all computer and electronics. That includes all content in that home that would be considered evidence by the investigators. So they were in there pursuant to a search warrant, which is a lawful warrant that was signed by a judge. It doesn't say in that search warrant you are to clean the home up and make it like it was the way you left it. They have to go through everything, and that means looking underneath dressers and drawers and beds and inside the bathtub for particular investigatory reasons unknown to us as the public. We're all looking at it and going, holy shit, why did they sawzall the tub out? Why did they bust up the tub? Why did they bust her pipes? Well, I'm going to tell you, there's an investigatory reason behind that. And I'm a civilian just like you guys, but I do have 20 years experience in the New York City Police Department as a detective. 10 of those years as a detective, 10 as a patrolman. And I know that they don't just randomly do that. If they're looking for something, they have A, legal right to do it, and B, a good reason to do it. So, a lot of anger and a lot of people are angry over things that you're not realizing that they have a lawful search warrant to do it. And again, we'd all want it to be neat and put everything back and do a Molly Maid in there, but that's not how it works. That's not how it goes. Rex Heuermann's family files civil and okay. So here's another one. I just want to play this last one. This is all local news coverage. I have the advantage because I live right here in Long Island. So this is a local story for me, and I'm cherry picking out all the local news.
Latest on the Gilgo Beach murder investigations, the family of accused serial killer Rex Heuermann looking to seek the right for restitutions in the wake of all the damage caused by the home by investigators looking for clues. For 12 days, the home in Massapequa Park and surrounding grounds were thoroughly searched, and today lawyers showed pictures of what was left. Eyewitness News reporter Tom Negovan in Central Islip with more. Tom.
That's right, David. They are setting the stage to sue investigators over the way this investigation was carried out, revealing new details today about the dire situation they say the family has been left in. Their lawyers claiming that in many ways they have been made.
Let me just say this, Iris. There is no lawsuit pending. There is an intent They filed an intent to file a lawsuit. There is no lawsuit pending. Let me just be real clear about that. They simply did a press conference today to say that they are filing an intent to sue various counties. When asked, they said, we don't know. We don't know if we're going to sue Nassau and Suffolk. But once they see the search warrant and they see who is behind the investigation, it's going to be Suffolk County. You're not going to be able to sue Nassau County because the search warrant is signed by a Suffolk County judge for a Suffolk County detective.
Victims in this. Asa Ellerup, wife of accused serial killer Rex Heuermann, on her front porch today in Massapequa Park, referring questions to her lawyers, telling Eyewitness News, "I can't even conceive of what I might say to you about all this."
Emotionally, she's recovering each day.
The Heuermann family spending so much time on the porch, their lawyers say, because the home's interior was rendered all but uninhabitable by police, torn apart during the Gilgo Beach investigation, releasing new photos to back that claim.
They can't be inside. The house is in shambles. It's ransacked. It was run over through, roughshod.
Also revealed today that Ellerup, in the midst of divorcing her husband, is battling cancer. She needs up to 18 months of treatment, her health insurance within 2 months of running out.
For the past several years, she's been suffering from cancer. She has breast cancer. She also has skin cancer.
A GoFundMe page has been set up for her as she works to rebuild her life, asking for sympathy and financial help. She'll get neither from attorney John Ray, who represents the families of some of the Gilgo Beach victims, cases still unsolved, who says Heuermann's wife and children should be treated not as victims, but as suspects.
Respectfully, John, police have done a thorough investigation.
No, they haven't. Not yet. The police are engaging in an investigation. How thorough remains to be seen.
Now, their lawyers say they haven't talked to Rex Heuermann about the case. They haven't visited him in jail. And just to be clear about this, his family is in no way suspected or accused of any wrongdoing related to any of this. In fact, said to have been completely in the dark about his alleged double life. Heuermann is charged with first and second degree murder in 3 of the Gilgo Beach cases. He is the prime suspect in the 4th.
So there you have it. And listen, I say this, it's always good to have a conversation. It's good to hear both sides of this. Look, there's a possibility that Rex Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, and her adult children knew nothing about it. And then there's a chance that they did know something about it. We, as people looking from the outside in, have no inside knowledge of it. It's just our guesswork. We're all in different corners and feeling it out. But I want to say thank you to you guys for being respectful in the chat. And here is a place where you can respectfully voice your opinions and your thoughts, as long as it's not nasty. And if it is nasty, or it is, something that's, going to be derogatory towards the host or any guests in the chat, then your welcome will be you will not be welcomed here. So that's how I say. And again, we can either buy this or not buy it. But I think when the chips and when everything lands, when the chips settle, I think we'll have a more clear picture of this thing. But right now, there's no clear picture. We're all just guessing at this, because I don't know what Asa knows. You don't know what Asa knows. We're assuming that she knew or had to have known something was up. Like there's that woman's intuition. They say that if a husband is cheating on a wife or a wife's cheating on a husband, that, couples somehow know, like you get that sense that something is up. Maybe she had that. Maybe they didn't have such a great relationship. Maybe he was very abusive to her, physically, mentally, or just mentally. There's all different types of abuse that goes on both ways. And none of us know that. You know what I mean? So I have to say that, I have to be fair and impartial and give both sides of this thing as a content creator. And it would be very unfair for me to just lead the charge and say, John Ray is right. Asa Ellerup's attorney's right. I'm giving it to you both sides. And I really feel strongly that that Asa Ellerup's attorney lit the fire under John Ray's ass today. And John Ray is a pit bull. He fights for these girls who were murdered at the hands of some psychotic killer, whether it was Rex Heuermann who killed them, but somebody did. And I'm talking outside the Gilgo 4, right? So John Ray is trying to be an advocate, and I admire that. But I do not like him going on TV and saying Asa Ellerup knew that Rex Heuermann had prostitutes in the home. We don't even know if he had prostitutes in the home. There's no facts. There's no physical facts available to us. Now, John Ray is saying that he's got a witness. Is this witness credible? And all the questions were asked of him. You know, and he said that he vetted this witness through his techniques. Who the F knows, man? You know? Who the F knows? And I just say, holy shiitake mushrooms. Let me say hello to some of the people in the chat. And I got a couple more pieces to show you before we wrap it up. This is an hour and 16 minutes. I've already gone over into 16 minutes of overtime. Chelsea's here. She's saying, I'm sorry, it's not right how they come in and ransack through homes. The house should be left the same way that they walked in it. I've seen what damage can be done with my own family members. And Chelsea, I understand and respect your opinion and your thoughts on that. And there's certain instances where if you have to go and you have to rummage through stuff, they're not putting stuff back. They're leaving that up to the homeowner to do. And there is going to be civil litigation. They're going to get money from the county. The county's going to give them money for the damages or for the disrepair of the home. There's no question. I've seen it happen gazillions of times. But I respect your thoughts, definitely. Oblivious Benson is here. She was on with Melanie Little last night. The woman who started the GoFundMe, Melissa, is an amazing advocate. I'm in contact with her. I sent her an email. We've been emailing back and forth for the families of victims of serial killers, and she has a lot of great interviews explaining how one cannot know and still live with serial killer. Happy-faced, smiley, happy-faced killer. She was 16, I believe, at the time, and her and her mom and everyone who lived in that home had no knowledge of it. And I am going to have her on my show, and I'm going to interview with her, and I want to hear about what she went through. So, D Bank says, "Thanks for presenting all the information at DutyRon. We are at the beginning of this nightmare." Agreed. Yes. So I'm looking at the chat. And let me go over and say thank you to all the super chats. Robbie, thank you for the super chat, super sticker from Australia. Then Robbie again, my brother, thank you for the Aussie $10. Love the channel and all our wonderful followers. Wild Z Pony, a member for 14 months of the channel members, she said, just heard allegations. Need to know your viewpoint, DutyRon. Dr. Ed and Julie, thanks for becoming a member again. Thank you for becoming a member. Kalia, thank you. Appreciate it. More membership hearts from her. Thank you, Kalia. I think I'm botching your name. I'm always good for that. Fremont Pathfinder, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. 616 Love, thank you for being a member for 11 months. She says, thank you for everything you do on your channel, DutyRon. Stay blessed and humbled. Thank you. Thank you for that. Eileen, member for 5 months. The case is still young, much more to come. I agree. New York City Urbanista, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you and your longtime support. Dr. Ed Moskowitz, member for 22 months. Thank you, DutyRon, for explaining all of this. Thank you for being here and listening. Sister Carol Ann Clark. I have my aunt, who's Sister Camille D'Arienzo. Sister Carol Ann Clark, member for 7 months. Thanks, DutyRon, for your coverage. Thank you. God bless. Dawn in Wyoming sends $10, and she says, coming in late, but here. Thank you for the great coverage, DutyRon. How can they bring suit against anyone when that was a crime scene? I went over this. It's not technically a crime scene at this point because we don't know. We don't know if that was a crime scene. We don't know what happened inside that home. Maybe the police know and the investigators know. Jazzy Jewel, thank you for being a member, and thank you for thanking me. Much love and respect. All right. So a lot of people are sending love to Oblivious Benson. She has some great insight into all kinds of different things. She's one of those people who dot their I's and cross their T's and pays attention and does a lot of sleuthing. I kind of like that because a lot of my career as a detective in the Fugitive Enforcement Division, in Fugitive Enforcement, where I worked in the Warrant Squad, I had to hunt people down by computer, by going to their homes and knocking on their doors and knocking on friends and families' doors, going to places of employment. But to get to these places, I had to do a lot of computer checks. And I know all about all of the different things that she spoke about with Melanie. And I know a lot more about things that we utilize to kind of skip trace and track down these fugitives from justice. So I spent a whole decade hunting evil, hunting bad guys and girls down and finding them through the internet, through our searches, LexisNexis, and all the different things that are available to investigators. Jennifer Nobles is here. Always good to see you. Jennifer, you asked a question before. The backyard was tore up. It was dug up. It was, they did a number on the backyard, but when we saw the aerial footage, all of the dirt was put back. But they definitely moved a lot of things around, and they definitely did some heavy work on it. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, #DutyRon. I'm going to try to get to your questions. I think I've answered quite a few of them. Just put #DutyRon. Thank you, Japandia. I always screw that name up. Japanda. Thank you, Japanda. Daisy22 says, at DutyRon, where else would he have time to wrap bodies like that? Not in that home. He could have done it in the home. And Ed Wallace and I talked about this, right? It is very easy to back up that pickup truck, the 2002, 2003, or whatever year it was, the Chevy Avalanche. It's so very easy to back that thing up into that garage and load the bodies inside that garage and then just pull right out in the driveway. And I did the ride from Heuermann's home to Gilgo Beach. And coincidentally, tomorrow in the morning, I am going to take my gimbal and all of my movie equipment, my wireless mic, and I'm going to go out to Gilgo Beach, and I'm going to walk that 4-mile stretch where these the Gilgo 4's remains were found. And I'm going to walk the path where potentially Rex Heuermann, he's alleged to have committed these crimes, pulled his vehicle possibly on the side of the road, because I don't believe the boat theory. I've looked at the boat theory and it doesn't seem probable, but I'm going to walk that path tomorrow. If I have a signal, I'll go live. If not, I'll upload a video. But I'm going to walk that path tomorrow, and I'm going to show you the thicket in the daytime so you could see how thick that brush is. And we're going to be boots on the ground tomorrow. And we're going to walk it. And I'm going to walk that stretch of where the remains were recovered and give you guys a bird's eye view from eye level. So don't miss it. It's going to be tomorrow morning, probably around 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Let's look and see if there's any questions in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, Joey, I will call you tomorrow. I'm going to walk, and if I get a signal all summer, I will go live. If I get a signal, I'll go live. And if Joey Brooklyn's there, he can actually be the camera guy, and I'll walk with the wireless mic on it. on with me. I'll have my wireless mic. Joey will have a second wireless mic that I have, and we'll be able to both talk. And that will be really good because he can record me as I'm walking the path, which I think will be really cool. And it's only a 20-minute ride for me. So if you guys want to see that, put a 1 in the chat. If you're interested in seeing that, put a 1 in the chat. If you're able to be live, let me know if you're going to catch it live by putting 1 and then live. I'd like to see about 11 o'clock Eastern, around 11 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. If you're going to be able to catch it live, just put a live in there. I want to see how many people would be able to catch it live. Wow, the chat's going crazy. I thought I saw Oblivious Benson in there with a number 1. There it is. I did see it. MMM Rhino Girl, all the way from Dubai, I believe, is going to catch it live. Interesting. Wow. Moniso, New York City says that would be awesome. All right. Wow. A lot of people are interested in this. I did this walk on the 10th anniversary on December 13th, 2020. I went down there with my wife. She felt creeped out by it because it was on the 10-year anniversary. It was December 13th. It's in my playlist. I did that same walk by myself. I'm going to do it again tomorrow morning. Let's see. If you put a question in the chat, put it again because the chat just went crazy with my pooling. I asked you guys about if you'd be interested. Did everybody see the John Ray interview? I played it twice already. Did you guys see it? Yeah, definitely emotional. Definitely emotional. Tomorrow is your birthday. Happy birthday. Live from South Africa. Lisa Ringer, happy 29th birthday. Happy birthday. Yes, hit the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Also follow me on all things social media. One word, DutyRon. I'm a retired New York City police detective and a 9/11 World Trade Center first responder, giving you all of my perspective as a retired NYPD police detective. So that's what you're getting here. Linda comes in with the hashtag, why are the families being cruelly treated? Listen, look at Shanann Watts. Look at the Rusek family. If you haven't followed the Chris Watts family annihilation, Chris Watts on August 13th of 2018 murdered Shanann, their unborn son, Nico, Bella, and Cece. He wiped out 4 lives. Those people, the Rusek family, are being tortured and crucified to this day by people online. This is no new news. This is what happens on the internet, folks. If we aren't seeing it, we need to open our eyes up and see it. But the Rusek family is being tortured by people in the United Kingdom, by people in the United States that are just coming at them with bullshit. 5 years later, this Sunday is the 5-year mark that Shanann, Bella, Cece, Nico were brutally murdered at the hands of their own flesh and blood, their father. And these monsters are still attacking this victim's family. So there's the answer to your question. There's sick people out there. And that's the truth. So tomorrow morning around 11, don't hold me to it. It may be earlier, it may be later, but I'm going to try to schedule a live stream. If I got a signal, if I got a good signal down there, I'm going to fire up a live stream. If I don't have a good signal, I'm not going to be able to. All right, CG, thank you for the question. I'm sorry I didn't see it the first time. The chat's moving fast. Why doesn't Suffolk County purchase the home off of her and pay for a hotel until they move them pay for the damages and clean up cheaper than a lawsuit. They won't do that because legally, CG, they had right to be in there and do whatever they needed to do to collect their evidence. See, what you guys are not realizing here is that pursuant to the search warrant, they are legally allowed to go in there and tear that place up. They're not, I never would take stuff out of people's drawers and dressers and remove clothing, I would put it on the bed. I wouldn't try to throw it on the floor, but I'd put it on a bed or put it somewhere. I would never put it back because we always were on like a time where we had to get out of there. We got our evidence, we leave, we secure up the door and we leave. The only thing that's required by law is that they secure the front and back door. And you heard Asa Ellerup say, I can't go outside to my backyard because I don't have the key to open the door, because the police put a new lock on there and key. So we don't technically do that. And we're not required by law to do it. There's people that just don't like that, and I understand it. But look at what we're looking at here. This is a suspected serial killer who killed 3, arguably 4 people, right? Alleged to have killed 3 or 4 people and possibly more. So they're looking to get as much evidence as they can out of that home, and they're not looking to play Molly Maid. And that's basically the answer. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's how it goes. And that's how you ask anybody in this chat, if they were around someone's home that was subject to a no-knock search warrant. If you're subject to a no-knock search warrant, they boom in the door, we break in the door, and we go through everything. Everybody inside the home gets handcuffed and put down on the ground, and we secure them. We get them out of there or leave them inside a different room, and we search the whole area. That's how it goes. So, yeah, retired Irish detective. That's it. And there it is. Scott's asking a question about the attorney. Coincidental about Spoda? I think not. I don't know anything about that. I really don't. I mean, I haven't looked into it. I haven't really looked into it. New York City Urbanista is checking in. She says, I agree. I felt for Asa all day after hearing that she's going through the treatment. Hey, listen, cancer is no joke for anybody. I've had skin cancer removed here. I got a scar here. I got 20 stitches in the back of my head. I have 5 pieces of my body removed from skin cancer. And I still fight it every day. I look and I check. But she had breast cancer that she's fighting. And that's no joke. My wife had a scare this year with lumps and spots on her breast, and it was scary as fuck, you know? So I don't wish this on my worst enemy. I have empathy. I have a lot of empathy, and I feel horrible for Asa Ellerup and her 2 children, especially her son, who's autistic. I feel horrible for them. But again, this is what happens when, unbeknownst or known to you, there is someone who is in your family that has committed or is alleged to have committed a heinous crime. So, be that as it may, I appreciate everybody being here and giving your side of how you feel. And I encourage you to leave comments down below in the comments section. In addition to giving the video a thumbs up, make sure you share it out onto your social media platform. And there's my good friend, retired Sergeant A.H. In New York City, search warrants are swift. DutyRon is the expert in this and is always calm and professional. I worked with her in fugitive enforcement. She was a police officer, then became a sergeant. Thank you for being a friend throughout a long period of time while I was in fugitive. I appreciate you. Asa is, again, as I see it right now, with all of the evidence that's out, which is there is none, an innocent victim at this time until I hear of concrete evidence from police. We have to assume she hasn't been questioned. She hasn't been brought in. Her kids haven't been brought in. Right now, she is a victim of this circumstance. Oblivious Benson at DutyRon. Make sure you wear a hat. I've got it in my car. I got my Crocodile Dundee hat, cancer sunscreen approved. We can't risk you getting sick. Yeah, also cancer and autistic son is definitely going to take a lot of her energy. Absolutely. I think everyone should wait before making assumptions. I am 100% behind that. You know, I like to get the facts, but I like to get both sides. And I feel that this story right now is crazy because John Ray and attorney for Asa Ellerup, Robert Macedonia, are having a pissing match. Who here in the chat feels that there is that pissing match going on face value of what we've seen here tonight? The interview from 2:00, where he calls him an attention seeker. Macedonia calls John Ray an attention seeker, and then John Ray comes back and says, your client knows about what's going on, and she is a fraud. He called Asa Ellerup a fraud, John Ray. And that she has knowledge of the crimes, and that she knew that Rex brought prostitutes in the home. We don't even have concrete evidence that he did that I know of. Absolutely. I know I'm botching your name. I'm sorry. Miss Patrick says an absolute pissing match. And I'm going to say this to these two attorneys. This is how I feel about these two attorneys.
What are you people? On dope? Bueller.
Just makes my head spin. What I witnessed here tonight with these two attorneys was so unprofessional. It just seemed so odd and off-putting to me, you know? I almost wanted to say to them,
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
But I couldn't say that. So that's all I have for you for comedic value here tonight. An hour and 37 minutes. I went way over my time. I want to say thank you to everybody who has left super chats, who has become a channel member. Val Fitzpatrick, member for 7 months. Thank you, DutyRon. Love your voice of reason. Thank you, Joshua, for everything that you do. We have new merch. Check out our merch. We have the No Jagaloon sign. Josh and Kristen made up some badass merch. It's got to do with No Jagaloon. This was a sign that was made by Matty Boy Sully. So we have a whole bunch of new merch and stuff. Rescue Mom, thank you. Dawn Marie, thanks for hanging in there. Joey Brooklyn, all the mods, replay viewers, you guys are all freaking awesome. We're approaching 175,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I want to thank you all for taking a chance and becoming a subscriber. If you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, consider hitting that subscribe button. Follow us on all things social media, one word, DutyRon, and look for me live on scene at Gilgo Beach tomorrow morning. We're going to do the walk where these 4 girls' remains were discovered, the Gilgo 4. I'm talking about Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Amber Costello. And we can't forget about the additional unsolved cases and some unidentified, like Peaches, who was discovered. Parts of her remains were discovered right here outside of my home in Hempstead Lake State Park. I can get on a bicycle and ride my bike over to Hempstead Lake State Park where I live. That's how close it is. And I've actually done live streams from that lake. I might go out there one day because I think Peaches also and her child needs to be talked about. And I want to bring a light to that case as well. You know, it still needs to be solved. So good night from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here. If you have any messages or any information that you want to share about cases or about this case, send it over on DutyRon.com. I always check all of the messages. Send me a message on DutyRon.com. I always like to engage with my audience and all of my friends, family, loved ones here. Good night from New York City. We'll talk to you soon. Stand by for a message from the cop team. See you guys tomorrow morning. Gilgo Beach.